Hi, and welcome to Positive Prepper. If you are new to this channel, welcome. I talk about prepping from a Christian standpoint. I also do talk about some things going on in the world. And if you've been staying with me for quite a while, I appreciate you. Please, everyone, don't forget to hit that like button. It does help. And then hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. Okay? So today's video, I'm going to cover essentially two things: digital deception, and then also the first line of defense. This is going to be, I'm going to try really hard to explain this in a way that makes sense without sounding too preachy. So I'm going to apologize ahead of time. But there is a reason that I'm going down this particular road, because the one road everybody already knows. The second road, some may not put those blocks together. So that's what I'm going to try to do today. Okay. So the first part of this video is digital deception. And what I mean by that is, and I think I've said this in a video not that long ago, that we cannot trust the things that we see anymore, whether it's online, even on TV. We know that for a majority of the last 4 years at least, if not longer, we have been lied to by fictitious videos put on during certain time periods, and those videos were actually from a completely different context. Okay. Think hospital beds. I'm just going to leave it there. So one of the things that, and I'm going to use this as an example. Okay. I've been getting a lot of texts and messages and emails about all of these animals fleeing Yellowstone. Okay. Oh my gosh. All the bears are fleeing Yellowstone. It must gonna erupt. All the, I don't know if they were cougars or mountain lions or whatever they were. They're all fleeing Yellowstone. It's gonna erupt. So then when you do some digging, you find out that this is the natural migration pattern, because number one, there's more tourists this time of the year, and so these animals tend to get out of Dodge, if you will, or hide more. And when animals do migrate, they tend to migrate in groups, even if they are solitary animals normally. Okay. Now, this is the crux of the matter. Okay. And I'm using this, I think this is a really good example. If Yellowstone's caldera, which, you know, we all know that it's the inverted part, right? The bowl, if you will, underneath Yellowstone, that has been threatening for quite a while to erupt. And we also know that our government and social agencies tend to not warn people before those kinds of things happen. Okay, we also know that they do tend to put out stories that sound convincingly true to explain away certain events. So if you took Yellowstone as an example of digital deception, you could take it either way. You could say, well, they're just saying that this is a migration pattern because, you know, the probability of this caldera erupting has gotten more certain than it has in the past. Or you could say they're just trying to show these animal migrations as a fear monger, right? Because, oh my gosh, Yellowstone's gonna erupt, and we're just, you know, so who's telling the truth is what I'm getting at. This could be taken both ways. That's what I mean by digital deception. So you really, really, really have to discern and look into, you know, who did it. And I think I talked about all of this part in a video before. You know, who's behind the video, who made it, what were the motives for making it? Why are they saying these things, right? But here's the part that I want to get to, and sorry, that's Katniss. I want to get to a different arm of this digital deception, because we all know that this is all pushing us towards that digital identification. We've talked about that before. Okay, the digital ID, cashless society, chips, with all of your banking and your hospital information, your education, your whole life is on this little chip that they want to implant. We all know that. But there's a darker side to this digital deception that I want to talk about. So what happens is that we are putting our personalities into a digital format. So we're making a digital version of ourselves. And this is the arm of the digital deception that doesn't get talked about, but I think it needs to be. And again, I apologize if this sounds preachy, but it's a huge wake-up call, I think, for all of us. Every time that we add into that digital personification of us, it takes us that one step further away from God. And I want to explain this, and please stick with me. Even if you tend to not care about the Christian viewpoint on this, trust me that the first line of defense part of this video is going to be very important. So please stay with me through this part. I'm going to explain it as briefly as I can, but I want you to understand morally why this is not a good thing. So I'm going to read Exodus 20, verses 4 through 6, and this is part of the 10 Commandments. Again, this is Exodus chapter 20, verses 4 through 6. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in the heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Now, why am I reading that? Well, I'm reading that because if you look up what graven image means, it means a material effigy that is worshipped. Okay? I left the house the other day, and my husband and my daughter were with me, and we were heading to some place to go have some fun for the day. And we got, out the driveway and down the road, and I'm like, oh no, did I bring my phone? Did I remember my phone? Oh my gosh, did I bring my phone? Oh, I'm going to have to turn around and go get my phone. Well, I had it with me, and I was like, okay, now we can go. So, do I freak out that way if I feel like I don't have God with me? Okay. Do I get in my car and drive down the driveway and go, I didn't pray. I need to pray because I need to make sure that God is with me today because I don't want anything to happen. How many of us think with that mentality? And again, this is going to have to do with that first line of defense. So this all will tie together. When we make a digital version of ourselves, we take ourselves further away from God. God in the flesh was Jesus, and we were made in his image. The flesh and bones that God created, beginning with Adam and Eve, right? So the graven image is a material effigy that is worshipped, and that could be your phone, which has become an extension of ourselves. Okay, so in a sense, we're already partly technological and not solely flesh and bone. It includes jobs, money, families, reputations, all of these things that people value and freak out or become disappointed. You can lose your job and feel sad about it, but if you have God, you're still okay. All right? You can win $10 million in the lottery, and that's not going to mean anything if you don't have God with you. You might try to uphold a certain reputation in your social circles, right, or out in your community. But people are going to see right through that if you are not emanating God's light. And I know that people can sometimes get confused by that. Well, you know, this guy murdered his family and he was such a good Christian person. He was in church every Sunday and, you know, he was leader of the Boy Scouts and and then he ends up, you know, murdering his family. And I'm not saying every murder is a him, so don't jump on me about that. I'm using that as an example. You have to truly have God, number one. And if you don't, the rest of everything else doesn't matter. But when you are putting yourself more into that digital personification, God is not going to become digital. God is not going to become an AI projected image for you to talk to. God is always going to be God. The more that you put yourself into that technology, the further away from God you are going to get. Okay? And the more that you are deceived by the things that technology is going to start putting out there. And I said that, I think I said that in a video a long time ago. What if they make it, because now you can record your voice and AI will sing a song in your voice. They have Trump's voice. They could say Trump said this and it's going to sound just like Trump. Or Putin said this and it's going to sound just like Putin. And how are you going to know the difference unless you discern and get in there with the wisdom, look up the sources, what's the motive behind it, right? I just think that we have become, they are reeling us into this in a way that's making it okay for society, unless you open your eyes and realize what they are actually doing. And this is going to become extremely important when we get into a situation in SHTF. And I've talked about that before. Who are you going to believe? What are you going to believe? Where are you going to get your sources of information from? Okay? That digital deception is going to ramp up the more that technology takes over the different aspects of our lives. So in an SHTF, how are you going to be able to know what's real and not real? So what we are trying to do is we are pulling ourselves away right now from that technology. It's not to say that, I mean, obviously I'm still doing YouTube videos. We're still doing that. But for a big chunk of the day, that all just gets put aside. We're going to do what we need to do. And, start leaving our phones at home, especially if the three of us are together. It doesn't matter who calls, who texts, they can wait. It's not important. We survived, believe it or not, the 70s, the 60s, the 80s, most of the 90s without having a phone. I'm pretty sure we could survive it again. If somebody had to get a hold of you, they can wait. Okay? We cannot be this society of immediacy. And that's a whole nother video about kids in school and why they have their phones in there, and they need that immediate response. We didn't have that, at least in my generation growing up. And you know what? I'm pretty sure that we would survive without it right now. So that's what we're doing. I'm not telling you that that's what you should do, but in an SHTF, first of all, if the grid goes down, you're not going to have it. How are you going to survive it? If this is your addiction, right? But then it's also figuring out how you are going to get the right information about what to do next in the situation that's going on, and being able to tell what's really going on. Okay. The second part of this, I hope that you guys all understood what I was getting at. I was trying not to be preachy. That I think I could probably take an entire hour just on that topic alone. But I'm not going to do that, so yay. The second part of this video is first line of defense. And this, I actually should have probably called this first and second line of defense. Because obviously your first line of defense is God. He has to guide everything that you do in an SHTF. Your second line of defense is your mentality, basically your mindset. That truly is right up there. Okay, second line of defense is your mindset. So a lot of people really don't understand the impact that an SHTF is going to have. And I think I've talked about that before. And it really, honestly, it doesn't matter what kind of SHTF event it is. But it's going to be worse than you can imagine, longer than you think. Okay? And I just want to point this out. The Spanish flu, for example, lasted approximately 4 years. So when we say stack it to the rafters and stack it again, can you really hold out in that kind of a pandemic, like a real live Spanish flu type pandemic? Can you really hold out for 4 years? Can you hold out? Do you have sustainable food? Do you have enough seeds? Do you have enough fresh water available, or ways to keep your fresh water coming in for drinking, obviously, and food? Can you sustainably feed your livestock, whether it's chickens or goats or rabbits or even your pets? Do you sustainably have 4 years that you can keep these going? If you lose your goats, if you have to process them because you ran out of meat, now you don't have milk. And you probably don't have your butter or your cheese, right? So if you have to lose your chickens, then you're losing your eggs. So you're losing 2 things, right? Can you legitimately hold out for 4 years? And it's not just your animals, but do you have enough toilet paper stocked for 4 years? Soap, medical supplies. The Spanish flu killed millions of people. Millions. globally. So you would have to stay in your bug out or bug in location, figure at least 4 years. Can you sustainably make it 4 years? So the mentality that you have to have, the mindset that you have to have, is that, you know, how many of us live with our, okay, like I live with my husband and my daughter, and there are times where it's like, can you guys just give me the house for a day? You know, just, and I'm sure, you know, my husband, he goes off on business trips or whatever. He's probably like, oh, thank God I get a break. You know, Abby, our daughter, is probably like, oh, yay, I get a break, right? We all need that break, but in an SHTF, you don't get that. Is your mindset going to be like, oh, thank God I have my family with me through this every day? Do you see how that changes? Okay. Thank God I have my husband and my daughter here every day for 4 years. Oh boy. Right? Your mindset has to match that. Your mindset has to understand that you are going to go through pain. That you are going to go through panic times. That you are going to go through times where you feel like, what am I doing? Is this even working? Is this worth it? Are we going to come out on the other side? You're going to have those doubts. You're going to have those fears. You're going to have those days of ultimate strength where you're like, okay, we got this. We can do this. Come on, one more day, one more day, one more day for 4 years, and be able to maintain that. Obviously, the stronger the people that you have around you, the easier that mindset will be to keep in place, to kind of cement kind of in the middle with God as the guide stone to get through that. So you need to be in the right mindset. If you are already sitting back going, well, I've done everything I can do. There's nothing more I can do. This will get me through a year, and then I don't know. You're already in the wrong mindset, because now you're counting down the days because you don't have that sustainability. So you're already counting down to doomsday after SHTF starts, right? You don't want to do that. So even if you have the minimal amount of supplies, resources, preps, you have to put yourself in the mindset that, well, this is what I have, and I have God with me, so there's got to be more that I can do, or there's got to be alternative places that I can go, or more things that I can do. You need to stay in that mindset of prepping. Okay? Don't give yourself up to the hopelessness. You can't do that. No matter how bad it seems. Look at these towns that get completely wiped out by a tornado. And the next morning, you have news crews in there, and they're talking to the residents of those towns. Are they emotional? Absolutely. Are they sad? Absolutely. But do you know what they hold on to? Hope. And they thank God for what was still standing, which is usually the flag and their families. So don't give in to that. You need to have the right mindset. You need to make the decisions that are hard to make them now. Okay? Not in the crisis. Make those decisions now. What will you do if? And this brings me to the last part of this video, which is in response to someone who commented on my the environment and the EMP valuables. It was a pretty lengthy comment, but it was a very valuable comment. And at the part of it had to do with decisions that are made in normal times might be different when you're in those emergency situations. And that's what I'm talking about with having that mindset. These are decisions you need to make. Okay? Are you going to give people food in the event of an SHTF? You have to define what that looks like. And I talked about that in that video. What does that look like? A bag of rice, a bag of beans, send them on their way. What does that look like? Those decisions have to be made in normal times, because in an emergency situation, you're not going to think the same way. You might think that you're thinking rationally, but you're probably not thinking as rationally as you would be in a normal, non-SHTF time. Okay? And then, I'm just going back and kind of reviewing what the comment was. There's definitely going to be a lot of emotional distress, alienation, and that perceived lack of support or understanding from other people. And absolutely, you are going to feel that. If you are by yourself and you feel like even right now doing what you're trying to do, you feel like you're doing it on your own and people don't understand it. Maybe you're in a community or in an area where the culture is, this is not what we do. You're stupid for prepping, or we're just going to come and take what you're putting together anyways, so why bother? My advice to you, if you're in that kind of a situation, is to get out of it if you can. Absolutely get out of it if you can. You need to find like-minded people. Okay? I know that, so for us here, and I've talked about that before, we consider ourselves a refuge, which means we would most likely bring in people than we would to turn them away, depending on the situation. Okay? I know that we're not the only ones nationally. There's many other places like ours that have decided to be more of a refuge instead of a, compound, I guess would be the other word, maybe. But it absolutely can make you feel misunderstood or unwanted, especially when you are trying to find people to help you get through this SHTF and they slam the door in your face. And I understand that. You need to find people who are like-minded. And you need to start, first of all, you need to be in the right mindset. So you need to look to God. You need to talk to God. Number one. Number two, you need to find those people that you can build relationships with that think the same way that you do. So that in an SHTF, you are not feeling that you are discarded, like you have no value. Because you do. There is some kind of an asset that you can bring to a group if you can find them. Number three, find the places that are most likely going to end up being a refuge. We don't want to see anybody end up in a government-run camp. That's the complete opposite of what we are trying to do. And it's the complete opposite of what we would want others to end up in, if that makes sense. So even though you sound very discouraged, don't be. Change that mindset. Do what you can to change your own situation. Okay? But you got to ask God for help. You can always email me positiveprepper@gmail.com. If you want a little bit more dialogue about this, I can absolutely help you. Okay, don't be afraid to reach out. Let's make you feel more embraced by the community, the prepping community, the Christian community, okay, the people that are like-minded, the same as you. So thank you all for hanging in there. I know this was a longer video. It took me a little bit longer to put this one together because I had to be very careful how I put things. Because, you know, I got marked on my last one. So, but thanks for sticking with me. Please hit that like button. That's super, super important. Make sure you've hit that subscribe button. Share the video if you think that it's going to help somebody else. Don't be afraid to share it. And then hit that notification bell so that you know when my next video is coming out, which should be in the next couple of days. So stay safe, stay vigilant, and God bless.